Welcome to the Yoke Podcast, where we talk about all things entrepreneurship, real estate, and partnerships. I'm your host, Travis Hall, alongside my co-host and wife, Ingrid. Together, we've been in real estate for nearly 2 decades, always as an equally yoked husband and wife team.
Join us each week as we bring you a new episode. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, follow along, and welcome to this week's episode of
The Yoke Podcast. What's up, and welcome to the Yoke Podcast. Hey, babe.
Hey, babe.
I am excited for this episode.
I know.
I really am. So we are pre-recording this episode because we are not going to be here when this episode is live. And so when you are listening to it today, you're listening to it. We are somewhere else.
Yes.
Which is exciting. So we kind of tease it a little bit, but we have some life changes coming up. And so this is actually going to be a new series.
Yep.
It wasn't going to be, and we talked about it. We're like, let's make it. It's just a fun opportunity to make this a series. So this is going to be the first episode, probably a 3-part series, I would imagine, all about bold changes, taking action, following God's calling in your life.
Big, bold decisions.
Yeah, big, bold decisions. So all that to say, what are we doing?
We're moving.
What?
Yeah.
Am I coming with you?
You
Where
can.
are we moving?
So we are moving to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
We should do like a drum roll.
I know. Maybe you can edit that in.
Right. We're moving to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, and you can all go type it in, I'll tell you how to spell it. COEUR D''ALENE.
Right.
It is in the panhandle of Idaho, about 30 miles from Spokane. So technically considered the inland Pacific Northwest.
And we are wildly excited.
Yeah.
And nervous and sad.
Yeah.
But excitement is the emotion, at least for myself. Shocker. I'm the optimistic guy. It is what reigns supreme.
Yes. I'll have the tears for us.
Yes. So we're moving, for Ingrid and I, we are moving back to Idaho.
Yeah.
We were there 15 years ago, and our season in Denver for actively living here
It's coming
to an end. We are expanding our business to Idaho. We're keeping a lot of our business stuff here in Colorado, but we are physically going to be moving.
Yeah.
Which is crazy and exciting. And people are always like, why? Why are you moving? Or what job has you going there?
Yes, for sure. That is what the kids have been asked, is
Which makes sense.
whose job is taking them to Idaho. But also for sure within our community, everyone has been like, why? Why on earth would you move? And I think that's a question a lot of people get when they set out to do something that is big and bold and answer a calling on their life. And whether you're going back to school or you're switching careers or you are moving physically, you're getting married, like any of these big, huge decisions, you're going to have people say, what? Why?
Right.
I thought it would be fun to do this episode because we can kind of talk a little bit more about the heart behind the move. I mean, these are all conversations we've had individually with people over the last 6 months, but really a chance to kind of flesh out our heart behind it, what we're seeking and kind of what we're hoping for our family, and leave the audience, I think, with some encouragement that if they're considering a big, bold move or a big decision, that they can find some hope in this.
Right.
So
I love it. Let's do it.
All right. So I think we should start mostly with, you grew up in a small town.
Sure did.
And so when asked, hey, why are you guys moving? The number one thing I say, which I had to find, how to summarize it, is we are seeking an integrated life, and it is a lifestyle choice to move. So,
and a lot of that was around a small town.
Yeah. And for everybody who doesn't know, Travis grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, hails from Stillwater.
That's right. Represent Go Pokes.
And when we met and got married, I think that was always something that I committed to was, hey, let's go to Denver for a while. You're totally on board because it had all the lifestyle things we wanted at that point, and Oklahoma didn't.
Sports teams. I was so pumped.
Yes. But skiing, not a lot of skiing in Oklahoma.
Zero.
And so it served us well, but the commitment was always and I would like to raise our family in a small town.
And that definitely came even more once we had Malin. Just the idea of a slightly smaller town.
Yeah.
Just a little bit slower pace.
Yeah.
I think it was more like kind of a romantic idea, and we loved it. And obviously growing up there, when you're growing up in a small town, and Stillwater's not tiny, Stillwater, but it's smaller than Denver.
Well,
I
sure. We had
grew up, it was like
3,
30,000 people.
not 3 million.
But when you grow up in that, every kid grows up in a town, they're like, oh, it's so boring. There's nothing to do, and I definitely felt that. You hang out in Walmart for fun, but it was also like it's also amazing. Like I rode my bike everywhere, all over that town.
You could get literally everywhere.
I would cruise all over town on my bike. And so there are definitely some great things. You'd go to a restaurant, any restaurant, doesn't matter. You'd go to a restaurant and like you would know people. Like, hey, you'd see your people at church and you'd go here. And you can definitely do that in a bigger town. It just takes more intentionality.
Yeah. I think that is, I mean, certainly, obviously, we started seeking, smaller town lifestyle for our family. We are hustlers by nature. Like it is knit into who we are. We are entrepreneurial in spirit. We're extremely active. Like we go on a beach vacation or we go to the lake with our friends, right? They're like sitting there in their chairs just cooking for hours. And I'm like, let's go out on a boat. Let's go paddleboard. Let's make a sandcastle.
Let's throw the football.
Let's throw the football. Let's read a book. Let's anything. That's just kind of who we are. Obviously, it works well in our family, but it also means that we are not prone to a slower life. It's something we actually have to work at. And so one of the things that's inspired us is this parable of the Mexican fisherman. Can you summarize that for the audience?
Yep. So we very loosely talked about it in our launch, podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it a little bit. But yeah, the parable of the Mexican fisherman, I definitely encourage you to look it up. I'll put a link to a brief summary of it in the show notes, so you can click it and to read it. It doesn't take very long to read it, but it's the idea of there's this Mexican fisherman. He has a fishing boat. He goes out, gets what he needs, comes back, has a nice glass of wine with his wife. They go dancing, and he just lives this very great life. And what he supplies what he needs. And then there's this businessman that comes up and talks to him like, hey, what if you did this? And what if you did this? And what if you scaled this and got more boats? And then you did this and then you sold. And the fisherman's like, well, what then? And what then? And he's like, well, then you could retire and you could go out and you could go on your boat and you could go fishing whenever you wanted. And you could come back and have nice wine with your wife and you could go dancing. And so it's kind of like, what are you doing? And what are you doing it for?
Yep.
And it is a great reminder of like, granted, we want to push, we want to drive, we want to increase and be with our family. And that's what God's created us to do, is to be very driven and to help other people.
Yeah. We want to steward that.
Yeah. We want to steward it while also enjoying our family and enjoying what God's given us right now, today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it is this, it's
we're following the Mexican fisherman.
Yeah, we're trying to. At least today we are.
Yeah. And this move means something very different for me. Obviously, moved often, even within Stillwater growing up. So, not deeply rooted in just one house or in just one place. I have lived in Colorado my whole life. I left to go to college for 4 years, and then we lived in Idaho prior, central Idaho, for just over a year. But outside of that, Colorado has been my home, and I have worn it proud. Like I should
You are
get
a native.
tattoo. I'm a native.
For all of you non-Colorado folk out there, the Coloradans, native is like a very big thing.
Yeah.
There's like native stickers. And
I
like,
know.
are you a native to Colorado when you're meeting people and it's like,
yeah,
yes or no? And you are.
I am. I mean, I grew up.
Yeah, you're proud of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I grew up backpacking every summer. We would do a backpacking trip, which like props, because I think some of those were when we were really young.
Which props to your parents. That's amazing.
Yes. Really enjoying everything that the Colorado lifestyle had to offer. I mean, skied. My dad grew up ski racing, so we certainly skied. No boarding allowed. Hiked, camped, everything. And also loved the luxuries of the big city. My dad worked downtown the entire time I grew up. And so we would go down there and go to the Capitol and see this Christmas lights and go to shows and dinners and sporting events. Like Colorado and Denver specifically has just been an incredible place. However, there are some things that started to feel out of alignment here. And most of those were centered around city density and access to the things that we loved so much. Even obviously when we moved here, I mean, it didn't take 2 hours to get to a ski area
On a good day.
on a good day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is like for us, and we know so many people specifically of the lens of outdoor adventure, skiing or camping, whatever, in the summer. And a lot of people aren't doing it as much anymore because you have to want to do it. And I mean, you have to be willing to put your time in the traffic of
Mhm.
getting up to the mountains. I mean, a true good day, quick. I mean, midweek, you can probably make it faster, but it doesn't always work with us and the kids. But 2 hours to go skiing just to get to the actual hill. It took us 5 hours once earlier this year.
Sure. I mean, yeah, on some of those days
I mean, it was insane. Good thing we left early, but I mean, the kids were fine. They could care less, but man, you and me were both like, what are we doing?
yeah.
But they love it. And we love it. And that's a key part of our life. And that's how we connect with the Lord that way, outdoors and skiing out, camping, just being in nature. And right now it's turning into more of a chore
Yeah.
for us to make that happen.
And so 5 years ago, during COVID, actually, it was one of the first times that we left Colorado for like a long stint. And so it was May of 2020. And I called up Dave, my boss at the time, and I'm like, hey, can I work from the road for a month? Because nobody here needs to be here in person, and everything I can do remotely. And I'll have this whole setup. And of course, he's like, I don't care where you work from, just as long as you work, which is the best kind of boss to have.
And I had the same at Red Rocks.
Yeah, you had the same at Red
Worked
Rock.
at the office.
And so with their blessings, we left for an entire month, got in our camper and set out. It was incredible. It truly was. And that was for sure the month that kicked off kind of this seeking, 5 years of seeking. And ever since then, we left for a month, anywhere from 3 weeks all the way up to 5 weeks this last summer.
Worked on the road.
Yeah, worked on the road and made it happen. Like for somebody thinking about dipping their toe in something, you've got to go say yes. You've got to try it and say yes once and live with no regrets. Had we not done that, I don't think that we would be moving this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like looking back at those like key moments, and like there's been a series of dominoes that have happened that have brought us to here. And it's funny because relating it to this idea of boldness, they've all taken that. I think about that. I think about COVID and like, we're committed. Let's just go. We went for a month. And then I think about when I stepped out of Red Rocks, full-time ministry, full-time employment. And it was like
thick benefit,
great benefits. And we were scared and it was scary and we did it. And then holy cow, we didn't die and it worked.
Yeah.
And then fast forward again to the beginning of 2024, stepping you out of your full-time role.
Yep.
And we're in this world where we're both entrepreneurs and like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to now, it's giving us the confidence of like, we can do this. Because people were asking like, what are you going to go do in Coeur d'Alene? And we know that God has big plans for us and we have some big dreams and some big hopes and plans. And without those key steps that have happened, I don't know if we'd have the same confidence going into this move.
Yeah, I would agree. And truly, like the last few years that we got back from our trip, we did not want to come home.
Yes.
It was like draining on the soul to think about coming home. Obviously, we've been in vacation mode. I mean, we're still working, but for certain that was part of it. But it was also this just rest and recharge that we just thought, gosh, coming back to this busy, busy city is just not working for us anymore. And so I went back and I looked at some of my old journal entries from a few years ago. And you have more years of journal entries. But this time, 2 years ago, or maybe it was one, I had a journal entry where it wasn't that. It was that letter that Dave makes us write to ourselves.
Yep.
And he sent it out very late this year. But I did read it and it was in there and it was, supported by some of the journal entries, but it said, hopefully you're making plans to move to Steamboat.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about like why Coeur d'Alene, why Idaho? Because that's the biggest thing. We have a lot of community here. We have a great life here.
Yeah, everyone's like, who do you know out there? I'm like, not a soul.
And that was Steamboat. Our goal was always, we thought, was to move to Steamboat.
Yep.
Which is in Colorado. It's this beautiful mountain town. It's a ski town, beautiful river that goes through it. We love it. It's wickedly expensive. But we thought, I mean, that was the plan. And so it was more what we realized is God had a different plan for us.
Yeah.
And it was not Steamboat, at least right now.
But we had explored it.
We looked at houses.
Oh, we looked at houses. We started to make plans for like what this would look like and how do we continue to run our business from Denver.
But there was something that always kept us from doing it for some
Yeah,
reason.
there was a catch. Like we would leave there just on fire, like, right? Like you do anywhere that you go vacation. You're like sitting on vacation and you're on Zillow and you're like, ooh, look at all these houses. And then
Right.
you leave there and you're like, we're going to move here someday. But we really thought that obviously my parents are there and that helped. I mean, to have support somewhere was always appealing, but something kept us from that.
Something did.
Yeah. And so what was that turning point?
Well, so the turning point was our trip last summer of 2024. We're in our motorhome, and our kind of like our end destination. It was like the midway point. That's for me. That's when it was. It was our destination was the Orca Islands, the San Juan Islands, I should say. Most people know them as Orca Islands, but we were on Friday Harbor in San Juan Island, and it was just so enchanting. We were there for a whole week, and Ingrid and I, we had one date night where we rented a car and we drove around the whole island. I mean, it's not that big, but
Well, and we didn't, my parents are camping with us. So we didn't just leave the kids in the camper and
no,
drive
they had a
around.
gerbil feeder and they were fine.
No, but honestly, I think mom and dad like watched it unfold
they
as we
did.
were there. They're like, oh no.
They could see it in our eyes, the Zillow eyes. We fell in love with this place, and it was enchanting is the best word. It was this island, but not like beachy. It was really rocky and rugged and raw and like untamed. And then the town was super quaint, and we looked at some houses. We dreamed a lot. I mean, that's what we do. Usually at date nights we dream. And so we leave the island, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like, oh man, how could we do this? It'd be amazing. What did we like so much? It was the water. We love the water. And that quickly faded as far as the dream of there, because we joined the Facebook community page.
Well, and mama is not going to live next to an ocean. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm not an ocean frolicker. I am a lake frolicker.
Right. Totally. And so
I don't mix with well.
And like cabin fever, and like you had to use like a ferry to get there, and like the logistics was just not very good. And skiing, the closest skiing was 4 hours away.
Yep.
Which is a big part of what our kids and us we like to do. And so fast forward, we are in Sandpoint, Idaho with my dad. He's with us on the trip. This is this leg of the trip. We're there. It's awesome. It's super hot. It's this beautiful little resort town in northern Idaho, and super awesome downtown. A gigantic lake. We rented a boat. We're out on the lake. Every time we're at a lake, we usually rent a boat because we just enjoy that. And we're leaving on the way home and driving, and Ingrid and I both like, man, there was something special about that. Like we did not like think that way. That we were pure on vacation. We didn't look at any houses. We were with my dad just hanging, right? And it developed into, holy cow, that was a lake town and a ski town in the same breath. And we realized at that moment it was the lake that we were missing.
Yep.
And that was that key. And we're like, we love water and we love water activities, but we also love skiing. And apparently those two things are kind of hard to find. You can find them within hours of each other.
Yep.
But to be together is very unique.
Yeah, in a town that felt like the right size for our family. So,
Right.
I mean, even think about like we own a property in Grand Lake. Obviously, it's on the water, beautiful. Okay, would you move there? We talked about this. We're like, is Grand Lake where we're supposed to be? It has world-class skiing. It was too small. It's just too small for us. And so,
and we wanted a lake town first.
But really trying to find that sweet spot. So like that is what kept us from Steamboat. We didn't know during these, the prior 2 years of trying to get to Steamboat, like what had kept us there from doing that. But Steamboat doesn't have a lake in town. It's not a lake town. So that was off the board. And then we kind of started doing this looking and found Coeur d'Alene. And I had been there for a soccer tournament decades before, but we hadn't been back. And so we went out there for our business planning retreat and goal setting this last fall. And we got there and we were within hours. We're like, this is it.
Yeah, it felt correct.
It really felt right. So listening to your gut, like you have a gut for a reason. Don't reason your way out of it because your brain is wired to protect you every time. Don't do that. Listen to your gut. If you have something and every time your gut is like, this feels right, this feels right, this feels wrong, this feels wrong, listen to it truly.
I want to just add something to this because you might ruffle some feathers if you listen to your gut and you do it.
Whatever do you mean?
And so, I mean, truly, like, I think someone needs to hear this. Like, it is, man, do it. If God, I mean, this is what we believe. If God puts this on your heart, and oftentimes that's your gut feeling, right? It's
Mhm.
speaking to you that way, at least for myself. And if it's scary, I mean, like, pray through that. Like, why? You know, like, and is it something that you should be following, or like, is it going to ruffle feathers? Like, what would you do if you wouldn't hurt someone's feelings? Would you
Yeah.
make that choice?
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's been hard for us. It's been a hard season, and rightfully so. People love us and we love them, and we're
Yeah, we're great.
changing what's the norm. And I know that is hard for some people. And so that's okay. I just encourage you to, like, if that's you right now, lean in, like, pray about it. And
And
maybe it's time to make that decision.
find somebody you can talk to who has nothing to gain and nothing to lose by you making that choice, and invest in that conversation. I mean, for us, that, like, we encouraged our friends last year to go be full-time RV family with their little boys and go crazy and go do that. And, like, huge source of encouragement for them, not knowing at all that a year later we would turn to them for that same encouragement. They have nothing to gain, nothing to lose, having that conversation. And they're like, why would you not do that?
Right.
That was a really important conversation.
And that conversation, in hindsight, has really been a big thing for us. Like, us encouraging them has encouraged us to, like, do it.
Yeah, you can practice what you preach.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to unpack a little bit more specifically about this kind of idea of what we're calling an integrated life.
Right. Yeah. You kind of
Because
coined that, and I love it.
yeah, and I think that, and that took some soul searching, right? Of
did.
really asking myself, like, what are you seeking? Like, what are you hoping for? Because there could be filled with disappointments, right? And there will be. Like, you'll get there and I'm like, oh my gosh, Costco's only 5 minutes. I thought it was 2 minutes.
Or
Right now I drive 20.
it's not as sunny as it is here. That's
Oh,
gonna be
well,
the
yeah,
biggest
for
thing.
sure. That I'm ready for that. But right now, like, the cadence of our life is obviously school for the kids, but then, just one example is we want to go on an evening walk and we're walking around the neighborhood. We have an incredible neighborhood. We love our neighborhood. We have multiple parks. It's wonderful. And we enjoy that a lot. In Coeur d'Alene, that looks like walking around a hiking hill that is in town. And so that's like a big shift for us where I'm like, okay, I'm no longer walking around houses in the neighborhood, even though there's nothing wrong with that. And
Yeah,
I
we love it.
enjoy it right now. I get to go to, how many acres is Tubbs Hill? Like
That's a ton. I can't remember
a couple
exactly.
100 acres of, like, nature, and get to do that
Right
same
there.
experience there. And that type of access makes me feel more integrated. And one of the most important things in our life for our family is outdoor recreating. We believe that God gave us this incredible gift that is the world, and
Yep.
we are here to enjoy it and love it. And access to that is really important. And so that's like one of the keystone decisions is, how can we live a more integrated life? And is it possible to do here in Denver? And for our family and our cadence, it was no.
Right.
Which
And
I think a lot of people look at Colorado and they're like, really? You can't live an integrated
Right.
life there?
It totally is possible here. It's just in our rhythm, it's very difficult in our business and our rhythm of life. I mean, we have this conversation, my buddy and I have this conversation often, and it's interesting because in Denver, you can drive 30 minutes without even batting an eye. And it's not I mean, that's just going to, like, a restaurant or going to your kid's soccer game, and it is no big deal. But the amount of time that we feel like we kind of waste doing that, and it's not wasted, maybe waste is the wrong word, but that we could we just spend a lot of time in the car. And
Yeah.
we would, I love being in the car, but I would rather being just hanging with my kids or going mountain biking just down the street or walking into town
Yeah.
or going on a boat
Yeah.
and just connecting, going fishing with Anders or Malin, or, just, we live a very playful life. And that is a key thing for us as well. And we do it well here, but at what cost right now?
Yeah. And we really have to be intentional and work for it. It requires a lot of planning, which I'm a planner. I can plan my way into anything.
You can.
But at the end of the
You're
day,
good at it.
like it's the spontaneity and access to that of like, hey, do you want to go to the river? Like that will be a 5 minute walk almost instead of kind of this large excursion that you have to really plan for. So, for the first time ever, then in 5 years, we are not going to do a big trip this summer.
I know.
How are you feeling about that?
I mean, right now I'm super excited because I'm blinded by my excitement of what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have several little trips that were planned, and now we're just fitting them in, but
Mm-hmm.
not a big one. I mean, what's funny though, and I think we should talk about this, is normally our summer trip is our escape. It's our escape. And we don't use that word, but I mean, it really is. It's like, let's get away. Let's go be in the woods and drive around and be really connected as a family and super intentional and just go explore everything
Yeah.
and then come back. And that has been a big key thing too, is that we want to get away from this escaping mentality.
Yeah.
And like that's part of the integration as well. Is like let's go integrate into the place that Coeur d'Alene is it is for most people it is a vacation spot.
Yeah, it really is.
It
And
is
we've
stunning.
lived though in resort areas
Right.
before, seasonal, and we're very comfortable with
I
that.
love that.
We've
Yeah.
been in hospitality in resort areas. And so
Mhm.
I kind of like that. Really, really busy summer. Everyone's there and it's like town is
Yeah.
cranking and
Lots of hustle and
festivals.
bustle.
And then in the winter, we're going to slow down a little bit. And I'm excited for that, honestly.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, that's been a part of it for us is like, let's try to kind of
Yeah.
reframe that idea of what we do. I mean, we're still going to keep doing fun trips and go exploring, but it's more for exploring sake, less
Yeah.
to get away sake.
And I would tell anybody, like, whether the big decision is a move like ours, or it's starting a business, or, any of these things, like paying attention when you go and you take your 2 weeks of vacation. What are you vacating from? Are you vacating from a terrible boss? Are you vacating from the type of work that you do because you don't believe in it? Are you vacating from the hustle and bustle of a city like we were? Like, what is that you're like, I've got to get away. This is not refreshing my soul. Pay attention to that because that is really going to probably be where your answer lies. Like, what am I vacating from?
It's so true.
So, like some garbage relationships or a lack of relationships, right? Am I always going to be in LA and meet this group of friends? Like, pay attention to that. Have you not met your people yet?
Right. Your community.
Yeah.
That's really good, actually.
Okay. So let's wrap this up. And honestly, too, like DM us your thoughts. I wanted to say that, like,
You want to come visit as well.
yes, obviously, like share this episode, DM us your thoughts about kicking off a big decision, send us your Idaho Rex, but also like encourage one another. And everybody needs a support. We have some for this big decision, but can you be that to somebody else?
Yeah.
I mean,
even if it's hard.
even if it's hard. So when it comes to the big decision of moving to Coeur d'Alene, what are you yoked to?
Man, I mean, this is a hard one. I think just a big decision. I'm going to say big decision.
Okay. Yeah. Not
just,
specifically
not for me and
moving your whole family.
but a big decision like this, like life altering decision. I think you got to be yoked to your gut and yoked to like being quiet with your thoughts and just listening, because I mean, it can be really scary. And so, but your natural, as you said, like your natural inclination is to just not do that because it's scary. Your brain's like, no, I'm going to protect myself. But if it's that core gut, like just quiet your mind, go somewhere and just listen, you know the answer.
Yeah.
Like you do. You just got to shut everything else out.
Yeah.
What about you?
Proximity to a Trader Joe's. No, just kidding.
Or Costco.
Coeur d'Alene did just get a Trader Joe's. I'm very excited for.
But they don't have a Chick-fil-A.
I know. Maybe we should start a franchise.
There's one close though.
Or a crumble cookie.
Or crumble cookies.
There's lots of things that town still needs. For me, I would be yoked to that conversation with that trusted person that has nothing to gain and nothing to lose. I mean, obviously outside of your spouse, I mean, for us, it was a conversation with a friend that really, really like helped be that kind of reflective mirror of what I wanted. And it's hard. And the Lord tells us, like, guard your heart, and we have guarded our hearts, and we guarded for a long time before we really started telling people. And we were really selective who we told first. But at the end of the day, you have to find courage from somewhere. And if that can be an outside person, you should be yoked to that when it comes to that really big decision.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And maybe being yoked to like a boat.
Okay. And a beverage.
A boat and a beverage. Yeah, that sounds great. A little Margaritaville.
Yeah.
I can't wait for boat life, babe.
I know.
That's a whole different podcast.
I know.
Yokes on a boat. Maybe we're changing the name.
Maybe we'll record an episode on the boat.
Set.
Are you going to bring all this tech there?
Yep.
To record on a boat?
All of it. It is going to change. This is going to be gone. Our yoke studio is going to, we don't know any of that, but we're doing it. So when you're listening to this, we are no longer here in Denver.
Right.
And all of our future episodes are going to be recorded elsewhere.
I know. That's exciting.
But we are keeping it. Again, we're keeping our business here.
Yep.
We're starting a business. You just got licensed.
Yeah, I'm licensed.
In Washington and in Idaho.
Yes.
Super crazy.
I can't not be licensed. I'm just too interested in the MLS.
Right.
I just can't.
And I am yoked to you, and so I don't need to be licensed anymore.
Rightfully.
All right,
cool. We're very excited. And
we are excited.
We also are excited for the rest of this series and everything that you guys can glean from other people making big, bold decisions.
Yeah, we got a couple guests that are going to come on, and it's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
Making some big decisions. Cool. Well, thank you so much. As always, we would appreciate if you click the like button and then click the subscribe button. Follow along as we post a new one every single week. And hopefully you enjoyed this episode and gleaned something important from it. And this the series will bless you.
Amen.
Amen. See you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Yoke Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along as we drop a new episode each week.